Hey guys, Gothic here for a channel update. That's what this video will be about. We're more than halfway through the year, and we've accomplished a lot since January, since pushing forward with the revival of this channel, no longer doing podcasting, but focusing more on Gothic cinema and such. Um, and so, yeah, there's going to be some changes going on, mostly because um, we fell into a slump when it came to content. I fell out of love and then, fell back into love with some of the things that I was wishing to discuss. Some of it was I was just throwing way too much work on me. Because again, this channel is only run by one person, not a team. I don't know if anyone else kind of got that mistaken that, I guess just because you did YouTube, you immediately have a team. We do not. But we actually do kind of have a creative group. Um, if you've been following the Friday news column, which probably by the time that this airs for you guys, that column will already have come out. But we have a think tank. I already had kind of mentioned in that the people who are in said group through code names, um, that are actually helping me. And so this is also kind of more to expand upon what I wrote in that, that moving forward, I do want to up the diversity of the content because Gothic horror films of the decade is a good series that I really, really love. But kind of like at the end, it's more of a listicle kind of video. I give you 5 films. It first started off as a ranking, and then it became more of like, this is essential viewing for this decade of Gothic horror. If you want to get into this genre, if you're a fan of this genre, these are the films that I could proudly give to you and say this defined that era, very much so. Um, so I actually really want to do more in that, and I do have other videos that are planned for like the next 2 years or so that do add some diversity, but I kind of noticed that I again added way too much work to my plate. I'm only one person trying to get technically a whole year's worth of content done within the span of 6 months. That was a recipe for burnout. And a lot of you guys who would follow my daily posts would constantly hear about that, my burnout. Hey, we are shifting gears, doing this, doing that. Some of you guys weren't really a fan of that. And for some odd reason decided, well, you know what? Like, I'm just going to leave if you can't stay, consistent enough. And it's like, okay, that's fine. Um, I don't really understand what all that's about, but whatever. But anyway, we're gonna get on topic, as always and everything. So a new style of recording. Uh, if you guys have seen my videos before, even the Hammer stuff that I've done, a lot of it is heavily scripted and heavily edited. That added a lot to the burnout, and it really fed my perfectionism of, okay, I didn't deliver this line well enough, this cut didn't really sit there and do it well, or maybe in my head the cut was long enough, but actually putting it through practice, it's like, no, it's not enough. What do I use, what do I do, and then I freak out, and that's when you start getting all the crazy cuts. So what we're gonna do is try to be more conversational. uh a lot of my friends that have watched my videos, they say you go 0 to 100 really quick. You don't really give people time to process, you process the information that's been bombarding them, to give them moments to ask questions. And this even goes on my live. I've been trying to do better. It's a form of nervousness, that's for sure. You would probably sit there and think that 5 years on Twitch probably would have shaken the nerves off of me. No, not really. Every time where I sit in front of this camera, I am nervous beyond, because I'm all like, if I go off script, what weird crazy shit am I gonna say? It's like, uh, it's good for Twitch. I don't think good for YouTube. Not everything translates very, very well to that. But at the end of the day, I do try to give you guys myself and not a curated personality. Gothic is me, James Howe, and James Howe is Gothic. It's just an internet name, you know. Um, but with this, with doing the conversational stuff, hopefully I can actually churn out more videos. Um, Maybe not every week, but I really would like to sit there and try to get back to the consistency that I did at the beginning of the year, where I was dropping 2 videos per month. And I know that some months kind of feel a little bit longer because, the drops that I do, there's a whole 3 week gap in between. Um, where it's like, okay, like what else are you dropping within this month? That's generally what I do shorts, but to be honest, and I've gone to every YouTube guru video, and I've listened to my friends. I don't really see the value in shorts. I feel like shorts lose value after 48 hours. It doesn't have the value that long form does. It just really doesn't. And I really want to shift gears because even though shorts can bring in a lot of subscribers, um the transaction of will those subscribers go to my long form videos, and most of the time they won't because they're looking for bite-sized content, and I'm tired of making bite-sized content. I'm tired of butchering up my videos just for that. So that's a fair enough assessment. um One of the things that I was going to sit there and do, and it's the reason why this week doesn't really have a video, or a short, was that I was going to review modern horror films uh for YouTube Shorts, because generally I like covering older films. I like covering films that are probably pre 2010, even though yes, I did do a video that covered the 2010s in Gothic horror, but that was different. But reviewing them and actually giving you guys like my thoughts on these, I figured, you know what? I can at least do a little bit more of a service other than try to pitch something for you guys for a minute, because that's kind of hard, especially maybe if there's a video like a movie I really care about. I can't sit there and pitch all that within a minute. There's things I want to talk about. There's the cinematography. Maybe there's a dialogue moment. Maybe there's just a moment in the film that I really just want to just show you guys how happy it made me. That I was like, oh my God, that was so cool. Awesome. Maybe some people can package that within a minute. Good for them, not for me. I know where my talents can get me. Um and so it's not like these videos are going to now be long form, 10-minute videos. But no, I kind of will probably sit there and make mini reviews which are longer than shorts, but are still considered long form content. Um and of course, my buddy's telling me, he's like, my buddy Steven, he's telling me, dude, you're sitting on a content of wealth here that, like, modern day horror films are actually getting better. If we kind of look back at the year of The Substance, there's a lot of other really great films that came out too that year. Weapons was one of them. You had Netflix's Frankenstein that Guillermo del Toro did. I love that one. And then you kind of go back to 2024 towards the tail end. Yeah, Nosferatu. I really, really enjoyed that film. Surprised I actually have not yet made a video on that one. I figured, you know what, like with films like Obsession and Backrooms, these are films that, they need to be talked about, because we are obviously in an age that I think independent cinema is not just going to sit there and save the horror genre from all the legacy sequels and reboots and all that other. God, can't you believe they're making another Nightmare on Elm Street? So, yeah, hopefully, with these mini reviews, I'm able to sit there and talk and share my thoughts and opinions on these new films. That's pretty much, the gist of it. And of course, doing it in a conversational style. Uh, Another one is kind of like a movie slash series pitch, that I plan on actually doing the recordings and getting the videos ready, because these really won't come out until next year. So there is this MCU video that I really want to sit there and do, where I do believe that we need a specific, I guess, kind of like imprint, but for cinemas and everything, we need a show or a or like an undertitle, like the Marvel Spotlight Presents, that Disney's been doing with the MCU stuff, where we get stuff like Werewolf by Night, Punisher: One Last Kill, Guardians of the Galaxy's holiday special. We need something like that for horror. And when I thought of doing this video, it gave me a really really good idea for this pitch, and it made me think, oh, this could be a doorway open, and I could really play with the creativity and storytelling. And how would I adapt maybe Ghost Rider into a movie trilogy for the MCU? Um, how would I do a sequel to, Marvel Spotlight presentation of Werewolf by Night? Because I really, really love that. And I've actually been doing during my vacation, I've been doing a lot of research on that, looking at the original run and what story arcs could be adapted. And there's a lot. There's a lot of really good ones, but I don't want to trail off too much. But yeah, I really want to do these pitches, and it kind of gets me to sit there and to work my brain into creativity. I don't expect Disney or Kevin Feige to watch those videos and be all like, he's on to something. No, it's just something fun. It's fantasy booking for the sake of, yeah, I guess it's fantasy booking slash fan fiction. I guess, it's just not going to get creepy. Okay. Cause I feel like fan fiction has a very creepy vibe. um, I was thinking about not doing these, but I was like, no, you know what? I really want to do these because if there's one thing about my channel that I hope you guys take away for it, it's not just my love for Gothic horror, but it's my love for storytelling. And I do think that that's going to be a crucial thing. And then hopefully in the future, I will, branch off into like, other maybe literary adaptations. Maybe I'll tackle DC or, any other comic in print that I would think like, oh, this would make an interesting movie or a rebooted TV show, Tales from the Crypt. I don't know, but uh, but yeah, that's a future style of video coming along with the mini horror reviews. Um, and then lastly, what I want to talk about as I'm looking here at my notes, um, I do want to shift the topic of the subject matter, because this year has been about Gothic horror, but there have been in some of the videos, like in the 80s, where I've tackled folklore with, films like The Company of Wolves and everything. While it is a Gothic style adaptation of the Grimm's fairy tales, there are moments when you really look into the stories and they're like, oh, this kind of feels like this dives more in the folklore, but it's obviously told through a Gothic lens. And I love folklore. There's so much about cinema that I love that I'm thinking, what could I branch out from Gothic horror that can still stay within the Gothic horror realm, but I can still branch out and explore new subject matters to where I don't deter you guys too much, or alienate you guys of like, oh, I came here for Gothic horror. What's he over here talking about this dark fantasy, thing? And it's like, well, really, if you look at some of the story elements, actually really do kind of overlap and everything. Maybe not completely, but there's an overlap. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the overlap because I do not like putting myself into a box. I do not like people putting me inside a box. I will cover what I want to cover. And if it draws to me a big interest, that I am happy enough to share this with you guys. Because at the end of the day, I still don't even look at myself as a movie reviewer. I look at myself as a film curator. You know, uh, I don't really want to sit there and feel like my opinions about the film, whether good or bad, are going to sway your opinion on this film's. But I hope that maybe they pique some form of curiosity for you guys, that it's like, I'm gonna have to check that film out. Like films like V, or films like Eyes of Fire, or even The Company of Wolves. That's the whole channel update. It's like, I feel weird doing this. This is completely out of hand, and hopefully I'll get comfortable talking to you guys on the camera without, so many bloody edits, that it's that, even to me, it just, it stops becoming fun and starts really just becoming just mundane, just boring work for me, because like, oh, I gotta cut this, I gotta cut that. you know I really want to sit there and enjoy those long pauses. I really really do, because I kind of notice in some of my writing, I like long pauses, and I feel like I've been writing and editing for the wrong crowd. And yeah, I hope you guys stay. I hope you guys really enjoy what's gonna come. Um, Again, my crew who have been helping me, supporting me, telling me not to give up, not to, um, not to feel so self-defeated. Uh, just keep going. Don't let the perfectionism win whatsoever. Thank you to all my YouTube supporters as well and everything. I appreciate you guys who are part of the membership. You guys are obviously going to be getting this video early. And yeah, I'm like looking at the clock here and I was like, oh my God, I'm actually going a lot longer than I wanted to. But you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening and I will talk to you guys all later. Peace out.